Khalid, who are the top three regional leaders of the Middle East? Or is it going to be one? Or is it going to be a group of states?
I think right now sanity prevails in Saudi Arabia and in Turkey. The other states have gone. Egypt is economically a bit weak, but I think if Saudi Arabia and Turkey do form, along with Pakistan on the other side of the Gulf, there will be some kind of semblance of strength. But one thing I took offense is when it was said that Mr. Trump is not in a position. We are not a bag of oranges that Trump will hand out or thing. I think again I stress the people of the region providing good leadership, KPIs, good governance will be able to ward off any of the evil that comes from the other side.
Caitlin, quick response from you. Go ahead.
I think that I think Dr. Cameron did a great job of synthesizing both. You have to remember that Donald Trump keeps saying, America first, America first, America first. That means that when he conducts his foreign policy, you see him doing things that benefit the United States. However, it doesn't mean America only, and I think that there is potential for partnerships. I think the idea also of the world expecting everything from America and yet also expecting nothing and expecting America not to do anything at all, we've got to find some kind of a balance in the middle there.
Thank you very much, all three of you. Great debate. Our Redline Global special coverage from Lahore and Beirut continues. We'll take a short break and come back to another dimension of the same issue. Welcome back to Redline Global special being broadcast from Lahore and Beirut in collaboration with SEN. Let me take you to Beirut, where my colleague Leticia Castro is there to share with you a lot of content with regard to the Middle East and Middle Eastern related affairs. Over to you, Leticia.
Thank you, Talat. So we want to move into something that really strikes at the heart of regional economics and relationships. Pakistan has just returned $3.5 billion to the UAE. For decades, this was one of the most reliable partnerships in the region, built on trust, migration, trade, and crisis support. But this single transaction now raises a bigger question. Is this still the same alliance it once was, or is it becoming something more transactional? Saad Sohail breaks it down for us and how Brotherhood is now possibly being rewritten as business.
Pakistan just paid back $3.5 billion to the UAE. On paper, that's a financial transaction. But in the context of how Pakistan and UAE have operated for decades, this one's worth paying attention to. For years, UAE deposits in Pakistan's central bank weren't really expected to leave. Every time Pakistan was in a rough patch, they'd simply get rolled over. But last week, this safety net was pulled away. No extensions, no delays. For decades, Pakistani labor helped build high-rise modern Dubai that we see today. The infrastructure, the skyline, the UAE that exists on the world stage. Today, around 1.7 million Pakistanis live and work there, making it one of the largest Pakistani overseas communities, contributing a major source of remittances back home. That's a connection that runs deep. But along with this continuity, there are signs of change. While there's no official visa ban announced by the UAE government, the Pakistani officials have acknowledged periods where it was harder to obtain visas. Even now, reports of stricter scrutiny, delays, and higher rejection rates continue to surface, despite that there is no official policy change publicly confirmed. In recent years, differences between Saudi Arabia and the UAE have become more visible, especially in Yemen, where tensions have escalated. A Saudi strike on a UAE-linked target and the withdrawal of Emirati forces highlighted the underlying mistrust between the two. For Pakistan, this matters. Pakistan reinforced its strategic ties with Saudi Arabia, including a mutual defense agreement in September 2025. Acknowledging the long-standing and close partnership. At the same time, UAE built global partnership, increasing economic engagements with India, and normalizing relations with Israel following Abraham Accords. The divergence was also visible in the tensions involving Iran. When the Gulf became a battleground in the US-Iran war, UAE was on the forefront. There were over 2,000 projectiles detected in Emirati skies. Dubai airport was briefly closed, and UAE expected its partners to stand against Iranian threat. But Pakistan, managing a 900-kilometer border with Iran, sought to mediate. Individually, repayments, visa friction, and defense pacts might seem isolated incidents, but together they suggest a relationship that's entering a cold and conditional phase.
Thank you, Saad. And what really stands out here is that this is about far more than a single payment or a single diplomatic disagreement. From Gaza and Lebanon to the Gulf and South Asia, we're watching the rules of diplomacy, security, and regional power shift in real time. So what does this new landscape actually look like, and how much of it is being driven by war, economic pressure, and changing global alliances? Joining us now is Dr. Marwan Kabalan, International Relations Analyst and Policy Director at the Arab Center in Doha, Qatar, as well as Ruslan Trad, Non-Resident Fellow at the Atlantic Council's DFR Lab, joining us from Sofia. Great to have you both with us here at South Air Network, Redline Global. Thank you so much for your time. Let me start with this, with the big picture. After everything we've seen over the last 2 years, are we now entering a new era where relationships in the Middle East are less about ideology or historic alliances and more about security, survival, and somewhat of a strategic interest? Dr. Kabalan, let's start with you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I believe that ideology is no longer playing a role in the politics of the Middle East as it used to be, let's say, in the 50s and 60s, when the Arab world and generally the greater Middle East actually was divided between the two great powers within the context of the Cold War. Today, every single country in the region is seeking its own interests. So the foreign policy of these countries right now is national interest or interest-driven foreign policy in which there can be shifting alliances all the time, temporary, sometimes coalitions. And that is how we can describe the current situation right now in the Middle East. Every single country, especially given the current situation, the war with Iran, every single country in the region is seeking its own survival, is seeking its own national interest. So probably we'll be seeing a very different relationship today from what we saw in the past, and perhaps from what we are going to see in the near future as well.
Now, Ruslan, I want to ask you, have modern wars changed diplomacy itself, maybe shifting it from private negotiations to public battles over narratives and information?
Well, for sure. On the first place, we need to understand that the conflicts are no longer easy to resolve, and that is something the politicians are not willing to understand correctly. They are not listening to experts and even to the army and the general staff because the political agenda is totally different than what's happening on the ground. And the nature of the conflicts right now is changing, and therefore is changing the diplomatic solutions of, if any, solutions, because more generally, we have a problem with international law incomplete. That is one of the main problems we are facing as society, not only as countries. So for sure, the nature of conflicts is changing, and we are seeing this change in front of us, live on camera from Middle East and Ukraine. But not only, we have this changing of the warfare in Sudan, in different parts of Africa, also in Asia. So the coming age of, or we are already in that age of the current technology about drones, but not only robotics became more and more useful. And you see the Israeli army, how is using AI, for example, even deciding who will be killed on the ground. So this is something new and will be effectively important for diplomatic processes in general.
And I want to ask you, Dr. Marwan, are non-state actors like Hezbollah and the Houthis and regional militias now as important as states in shaping the entire region? What's your thought on that?
Of course, I mean, following the U.S. invasion of Iraq, we have seen this rise of non-state actors in the region. We are talking here not only about Hezbollah, Hamas, Iraqi militias and the Houthi movement in Yemen, but we are talking also about other actors like ISIS, for example, like Al Qaeda as well. But that period actually is now behind us, because today, especially after the September 11 attacks, especially after the Hamas attack on Israel on the October 7, 2023, we have seen the United States and Israel going after these non-state actors, trying to weaken them. And with the Trump administration, we have seen a shift in U.S. policy towards focusing on rebuilding the structure of the state. Before that, during the U.S. invasion of Iraq, we have seen the national state in the Arab world, in the region generally, weakening and becoming very fragile in the interest of the non-state actors. Today, we are seeing a completely different discourse in the sense that the United States, after seeing how these non-state actors have wreaked havoc across the region, that is trying actually to shift the focus by trying to help central governments in the region rebuild the state once again. We can see that, for example, today in Iraq, there is a huge pressure on the Iraqi government in order to dissolve and disarm the popular mobilization, Al-Hajj al-Sha'bi in Iraq. We can see that also in Syria, where the U.S. government actually completely abandoned its alliance with the Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF, in favor of the new Damascus government. So now we are seeing this shift actually from non-state actors into rebuilding a strong national state in which it can have full control and sovereignty over its territories, because, as I said before, it's becoming extremely difficult to tolerate the expanding power of the non-state actors. And now with the war with Iran, we believe that in the future we're probably going to see further weakening of these non-state actors, including Hezbollah, Houthis, the Iraqi militias, and other factions in the region.
Dr. Marwan Kabalan and Mr. Ruslan Trad, thank you both for a really insightful and timely conversation with us. What this discussion makes clear is that the wars of the last 2 years have definitely reshaped the area, at least borders and alliances. They've changed power, the way we see power, security, and even information itself, and how it now operates across the region and far beyond it. And of course, the consequences aren't limited to Middle East only. South Asia, Europe, and the wider global South are feeling the impact in different ways, whether it is through energy, trade, security, or public opinion.